Hello. Hello, who's here? Leona's here. Hi, Leona. Mwah, just for you. Nice Solaris. Hi, Rage. Hi, guys. We donkeying our Kongs in here. We are gonna, in fact, donkey our Kongs tonight. I gotta answer your questions, Leona, because you asked a lot while I was getting like water and stuff. Look at the precious creature, maybe. All right, what did you ask? Hang on. I started seems adorable. Yeah, made by the same person that made my model. You have hero eyes? No, I don't have hero eyes. I have heterochromia. Which, if you want to take a look at them up close, look at right at your screen right now. Hang on, I gotta take my glasses off for a second so you can see them. I just saw hero. It did not go through at all. But yeah, I do have herochromia, as some memes put it for their cats, heterophobia. What else? You love my setup? I think everything on my stream is custom except for the starting music, just because I wanted to use something different than I use for like each scene that I have. That's the only thing I have that's actually not custom. As for pinging everybody on Discord instead of using a bot for that, I love the idea of what's it called, customized going live pings. I personally dislike the blah is live on Twitch over at blah the link. I'm like, that's kind of boring to me. Like, I like the idea of you put something funny, something silly, something that tells people what the hell you're doing, in case people don't know what you're doing that day. They can just tell from the everyone ping. That's just me though. What else? What else did you say? Yeah, you got new stuff coming. Ooh, I'm excited. Who was just hyped for our stream? I don't know. Who is it? Yeah, you guys hyped for the stream? Sorry, anytime you guys see me lean back, it's because I'm like literally leaning back, by the way. Anyway, hello again, Solaris and Rage, welcome in. You typed the entire DK rap, which I'm cool with. Anyway, I went shopping today and I got groceries for the most part. Speaking of, I need to check my bank account. Do I have enough money for bills? Not all of it to check out your character cap. That's fair. Oh yeah, I'm chilling. But yeah, I went out shopping just for groceries and stuff. But guys, guess what? Is it chicken butt? Because if so, I'm gonna actually time you up for 5 seconds. And then there's Chunky. He's dead. Also, if you ever hear some voices in the background, like very quiet, I'm actually listening to or like on the side I have Sea Dog and Iron Mouse's cyclothon going on. Corrected to my schizo? Nope. I'm watching Cyclothon, which if you don't know what that is, it's what Sea Dog VA does for the Immune Deficiency Foundation. So I don't know, I like supporting. It's like the Spire just crashed. Oh no. Yeah, I guess it should not be hearable, but if you just hear like the slightest like random very quiet voice in the background, that'll be why. I'll pay the boss for the cycle. There you go. Yeah, exactly. This is the first one I'm actually watching in person, like as in like watching. Usually I just watch the 2-hour recap video that he posts a couple months later. You could just say it's a collab with Iron Mouse. I do not want to say that. I do not want to get on her bad side. I'm sure she's not gonna get upset if I say that. I think it'd just be funny. Anyway, hi Jama, welcome in. I don't think she'd be upset about it. I think she'd just be like, you know, hey, thanks for supporting and stuff. But yeah, I used to watch VODs. I'm not really much anymore. The only VODs I do watch, I'm not gonna lie, you can call me a child, I don't care. I watch Morph23 doing Super Mario Odyssey or Super Mario Sunshine randomizers because I honestly like randomizers as like just background noise in a sense. I think she'd like the bit. I think she would like the bit, but I would at best send her a DM on like Twitter or something and be like, hey, if I put your name in my title, would that be okay? I might donate to this one, yeah. But anyway, yeah, Twitch Mobile. Honestly, I don't have a problem with Twitch Mobile. Weirdly enough, I'm on Samsung, so I don't know. It's like not bad. I don't know if it's different on other OSs, but for some reason on whatever Android I'm on is fine. I emailed her, didn't get a response. It's mildly terrible on iOS. Like, it's honestly like it's legitimately fine on but Android, like it's like it probably has like small issues, but I think it's fine. That's how I watch some streams, like when I'm doing some working out, doing some bike riding. I just slap Twitch on. My problem is that Twitch doesn't play background on phone. I think it does if you have Turbo, maybe, because mine plays in the background. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, but I think it does. But I also have Twitch Turbo because I dislike ads, and I don't have money to sub to everybody that I watch, so I just pay for Twitch Turbo, and that, you know, takes care of the problem. So like that's one thing I tell people is like, if you don't have money to sub to people, but you have enough money to sub to 2 people and you watch more than 2 people, Turbo's basically the same thing roughly, besides the fact that we don't get the like $2 out of it or whatever. My place the record on have Turbo. Maybe that's a skill issue on Leona's part then. Also, I didn't realize this song has lyrics. At least this version of it does. Anyway, are you guys ready for some Donkey Kong? Some with YouTube Premium. Got that and watched the day before. Was it YouTube Premium that I saw they were getting rid of background play? Is that what it is? Or is it that they're getting rid of it without Premium? I think that's what's happening. I don't remember. Also, Leona, do you notice the cat ears? What do you think? Have you noticed them, or are you too busy with something else? It's without Premium. That's what it was. Yeah. That's what it was. Yeah. Okay. I also pay for YouTube Premium for the exact reason that I want my videos to play in the background. And again, get rid of ads. Like, I will pay to get rid of ads. I'm sorry, like, yes, I'm paying for the big bad companies by doing the subscription service, but like, I will 100% pay for it just because I hate ads. And if I'm watching YouTube or Twitch a lot, I might as well buy the thing that gives me no ads. Let's get over to the game right away. Let's go over here. I am not paid by YouTube. I do think probably YouTube Premium is probably the most worth it thing ever. But anyway, you guys shouldn't see anything yet, just a black square, and now you should be. Okay. Alright, let me know how it sounds, should be good. Let me know how it looks, should be good. And I don't know, tell me about your guys' days. You guys are very cute, being very cute today, so like, I don't know, talk about stuff, ask me things, I don't know. We're almost done with this game, trust me. Don't, like, that 76% is not correct. I probably have like 90 because I don't have any of the blueprints turned in yet. But I hope we don't have another beaver bother situation this stream. Last week we had beaver bother, and if you guys did not see what happened last stream with beaver bother, I highlighted it, so it should just be like a 38-minute cut of specifically beaver bother. Where am I going? Where was Creepy Castle again? Oh yeah, that's to the fucking that thing. What do I do for next Thursday when this game ends? I have ideas. I mean, I could always just do a randomizer of this game. I don't know if people would be interested in that. I've had someone ask me if I was interested in a randomizer of this game. Should play the SNES Lion King? Oh god. You guys really want to watch me play the SNES Lion King? That's just a banana. Is it this? Where the fuck? Where am I going again? It wasn't this, right? Because this was Crystal Caves. Does anybody remember where the next stage is actually at? Oh god, I'm so lost. It's not there. Hi Ornix, welcome in. I need to become Diddy. This I know is not. This is not even Crystal Caves. I think it's just Frantic Factory. Switch. Mwah. I need to go fly around. But I have ideas. Maybe I'll play GoldenEye. Maybe I'll play another rare game. You know. Oh god. We're good. Is it over here? I think it's over here. It just didn't load. Oh no, it's not. Never mind. Oh wait, maybe. The fuck is it? Oh yeah, that's the chunky thing. Remember, guys, Chunky's fucking dead. Where the fuck am I going? Where am I going? You would do a Goldenish. You get ready to play the new Gold James Bond next month. Oh, hold on. I know what I should do. Oh shit! I just realized what I should do. Not today, just in general. Where the fuck am I going? I am so confused. Where the fuck is Creepy Castle? I'm lost. I'm gonna go look up my own VOD. Fuck's sake. Give me a second. I'm gonna look up my fucking VOD. You guys can hear slight whispers from Iron Mouse and Fur Time. Alright, where the fuck is this thing at? Did I get lost last time too? I got lost last time too. That's so funny. That's Crystal Caves. Oh, that's why I didn't get lost in it. Okay. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Oh, that's where it is. Where the fuck's the barrel to get there? But that's not where it is. Oh shit. Huh? I didn't see anything there. What the fuck? Okay, hang on. We're okay. I love this. Oh, that's OST. I totally forgot what song it was. It was clipped. What did you clip? What did I say? I'm confused. It's over here. Guys, what did I say? Anyway, hi Marissa. It's right here. I swear I was there, but I also wasn't. Whatever. What was I gonna say? Saying there need to be. Oh, God damn it! Fuck. Fuck you. That's messed up. Sorry. Also, I might need to go AFK at some point. I might be getting a phone call from my mom to take care of something, because they're out of town right now doing stuff, and they might need me to do some googling. Need more baby oil in that case? Please don't. Please don't make that joke. I know I've done a little bit here, which is how much? Like 1 banana each, roughly. A weekend with Diddy. Oh no, I'm so scared. I was not looking. I literally did not look. I fucking blinked because you guys are talking a lot and I'm so curious as to what you're saying. I need to lock in, hang on. Okay. I scooted in, we're good, we're okay. It sucks that this stage has no ground. Wee. I don't know if I want a weekend with Diddy. I'm gonna be honest. Besides, Diddy Kong was the original Diddy, I'm sorry. Let's go in here. At least I think he was. When did Diddy exist? Is this more chunky bullshit? God damn it. Oh my god. I need to be chunky because I don't want to miss these bananas. Please climb. Diddy. Thank you. When did Diddy exist? Whenever Donkey Kong Country came out. I can't. Shut up. You think P. Diddy? You really think P. Diddy was first? Really? Was he making music before like 91 or whatever when the Donkey Kong Country came out? Not 91, like 93 or 4 or something. I guess he would be, yeah. He's probably was first. You're right. You're right. I'm still retroactively giving the title of first Diddy to Diddy Kong. Perfect. Ugh. I fucking love how he just grunts. Gimme. Oh, it's my girl. Everybody ready for 2 massive sets of titties on screen? Hey, girl. Girls are so sweet that her nickname Candy. Sorry, I just I had to say that. What does this upgrade do? Upgrade your smith. I got more musical energy. Oh, that's it? That's kind of boring. Also, do you guys know what that's a quote from? If you do, I don't know, I'll give you a kiss. The so sweet that they're nicknamed Candy line is what I'm referencing. No Googling now, because if you Google, I'm gonna be real upset. I don't expect people to know this, but if people do, that'd be great. Doja Cat? Nope. It is a song. It is not It is not a modern song. What the fuck? Oh, okay. Is gonna see the DK show? Nope. Surprisingly, it is not actually a reference to Candy Kong. How, you motherfucker? Just for that, you're taking the coconut or pineapple to the face. The reason why I said no Googling is because I don't expect anybody to actually know this. Aaron Carter? Nope, it is not from I Like Candy. Oh my god, I've barely fucking made that. Oh, please, for the love of God, do not be Beaver Bother. Please do not be Beaver Bother. Oh, this one's fine. I don't know. This one's okay. We're chill. Teetering Turtle Trouble. The music didn't play. I'm upset. Help! 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 Reload! Sorry, I purposefully shot when I had no melons because I love when he goes reload. By the way, is it loud right now? There we go. Google failed you, really? And you feel done with this a song? Let me know. You guys are fine. Go ahead, Google if nobody really knows. Candy by Foxy Brown? Nope. The line is not exactly "Girl so sweet that her nickname Candy," by the way. I just changed it to that. Also, was that loud or was it okay? Because it sounded loud in my ear. It was okay. Okay, I'm just making sure because it gets louder when you're doing that like barrel shooting minigame. Yes, we gotta beat up Big Google for lying to us 3 times. You guys all Googled and didn't get it, huh? All right. Do you guys want the answer? Are you guys giving up? Give him the old one too. I'll slap him with my titties for you guys. There you go. Sorry, wait, that's did you guys say punish? That's not a punishment. Oh, I need to find fucking Cranky Kong. I forgot because I can't hit these things. Shit. Oh, I need to break these with Chunky as well. White flag. You guys waving the white flag? That's Lanky Red. Yeah, I need to be Chunky though. This is a very chunky stage because there's a lot of like punching and stuff to do. You're giving up. Anybody else giving up? Are these actually holes? No. It's not pour your sugar on me? Nope. Again, I expect nobody to actually get this right. Now that Google failed you guys, nobody's gonna get this shit right. You give up too? Leona, are you still around? Are you giving up? The only lyric I know is "A girl so fine, her name is Rin." Correct, but not the song I'm trying to reference. You give up? All right. It's a song by none other than Limp Bizkit. If you guys want to look up the actual lyrics, the song is called Dad Vibes. That's honestly probably one of my like favorite songs from Limp Bizkit is Dad Vibes. But yeah, it's just he just starts talking about like random sweet things, and it's like the dad's so sweet that his nickname Candy. My goat flaccid pancake. Oh, is that what JoJo's named it, I guess, or like the translation? Oh, it's from the fighting game. Ah, okay, that's fair. Because I do remember other people mention. I've heard people mention like, oh, flaccid pancake is a JoJo's reference. So I'm like, oh, banana. Netflix named it something else. Ah, what did they name it? The fuck? That's weird. Imagine having a stand named flaccid pancake. I can imagine. But they do. JoJo's and the Can You Slaughter for opera stuff. I mean, yeah, they just change the names up or change it to like do what God, what was it, a show, was it, where they just changed, yeah, they just changed the name, or at least to like one of the singers. Wait, didn't JoJo's do that? They named some of the stands after their singers instead of the actual band names or song names, at least, whatever it is, either way. Like, isn't one just named Axel? Again, I don't watch JoJo's, never seen it. I've had a couple people be upset at me for never having watched JoJo's. Just never have. The show did it called Flaccid Pancake? Okay, so it's just the way, like, if you know what a biscuit is, then you got it. It's Limp Bizkit. I need to find Cranky Kong wherever he might be. Oh, I need to turn into DK, actually. I don't want to miss these bananas. But yeah, the song literally is called Dad Vibes by Limp Bizkit. And if you want to look up the lyrics, go for it. It should be in there. And if you want to listen to the song, it's great. Like, legitimately, like, a part of me wants to use that song as like the background music for like a 10-second clip of my model, just like messing around, you know. Yeah, the stands are named after, from what I understand, mostly band names, right? Bands or songs, right? Like, maybe not one-to-one, but at least like part of the band was used to where people kind of get it, like Speedwagon instead of, you know, REO Speedwagon. I gotta turn into the freaking. All right. Can I see red before? Hang on. Can I drop the link? Yeah. You should be okay. Drop it, and if you get it destroyed, if you get killed, I'll do the like command to permit you. Oh, you probably got smacked by automod, or not automod, by the fucking ads. Somebody let him know that it's okay. You should be okay, I think. Yeah, I was like, you should be okay. I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure I don't have like heavy link filtering. I just trust people to not fuck around. The moment somebody does fuck around and drop, like, I don't know, a porn link or a virus link, like, that's when I'll have a problem. I'm so glad I Looney Tunes my way into actually beating him. Did you guys see that save, by the way? You guys that are subbed? I literally Looney Tunes my way into a victory. I saw the Diddy barrel. I'm just gonna keep going with Tiny Kong. You see the stream now? Okay, cool. Then that means either the ads were short or just not there at all. Which, by the way, welcome back. Oh, they're actually, the tiny box is actually working. That's good, because sometimes that shit just fucking breaks and you don't get to watch anything, and the ads freeze on people. Okay, here's Cranky Kong. That's good. Limp Biscuit. That's funny. All right, please tell me this is the power up that I want. Jetpack. I already beat it. All right, cool. Please tell me this is the power up. Please. Okay, the super duper Simian Slam. I'm getting it. You can slam red switch is good. Okay, oh fuck, there was another place with a red switch, wasn't there? Fuck. Oh my god, I have to just run around the whole stage now. Shit. Like, I'm 90% sure there's another place in here that had a red switch that I don't remember. I'm just gonna look around. One of them was Lanky, one of them was Diddy, one of them, yeah. The other one was Chunky, I think. No, DK. I think it's Lanky, Diddy, DK. Meh. Is JoJo's worth watching? Leona, what? Thanks for the gift sub. What the fuck? Thank you. That means so much. Jama, enjoy the no ads and the emotes. What the fuck? Get subbed on, nerds. Like, seriously, what the hell? I don't deserve this kind of love. What the hell? I'm just a silly little streamer. Where the fuck? Is it this way? It's gotta be over here. Looking. Oh, did you guys see where the name of the sub came in? Yeah, it was on my titties. Yes, I do. I don't believe that. I'm just a fucking idiot dragon. Ah, you. Oh wow, this motherfucker going down. Give me my health back, motherfucker. Say the Spire and fail, I gotta go to work. Leona, you're not just gonna fucking drop a sub and run away, are you? Because that's like Giga Chad behavior. I mean, let me just be honest there. Perfect. But yeah, enjoy your night at work, and thank you again so much. Love you, bye. Is this what I think it is? Ew. Is this timed? Oh, fuck this. Oh, I can't angle my camera down either. This, oh, that fuck, I hate this. I already hate this. I got gooped, yeah, the big green goop that kills you apparently. Hi, Queen Rain. Hello, Spider-Man of Universe 859. Thank you for acknowledging me as your queen. That's very kind of you. This doesn't load even if I do that? Oh, that's bullshit. Why does this, like, instrument and sound, like, really fit Lanky? How am I gonna hit that? Is it, like, spawned now? No, it's just not spawned. How the fuck do I do this? Okay. I'd have to assume I know where I'm at in terms of like spatial awareness. Alright, that's how you do it. Got it. Oh, nice shot. Go. Hi, Vicuña. Thanks for the chin scratches, baby. Donkey Kong. I thought he was dead. No, that's Chunky. He's dead. That was the kitty dragon. I'm doing good. How are you doing? What is this one about? Oh, hit as many friendlies. That's easy. Reload! Sometimes it doesn't fire, by the way. That sucks. Alright, we're done. You had a very nice day. That's nice. It's good to see you, though. This one was really easy compared to Beaver Bother. Now, I'm going to do the wonderful thing known as a Death Warp, because I do not feel like doing this entire thing again. Next is Diddy and Donkey. Probably do Diddy first. Let's get to end the day with the pretty little thing. I'm not little. What the fuck? Hang on, let me prove it to you. Does this look like a little to you? The fuck? Yes, Diddy Kong, named after. I don't know why he's named Diddy Kong. He's not named after Puff Daddy. That's for damn sure. Oh, banana. Now, what is the gimmick here? Looks like a drowning amount of dragon. I believe it. What if I do that? There we go. That's all I wanted. Is it a bad thing to land on this, I'm guessing? That's why they give me this? You motherfucker. This motherfucker killed me. I'm upset. I'm gonna kill him. Also, as I was saying, for those of you that have just got here, if you guys... He didn't die. If you guys hear something random in the background... Are you serious? He doesn't die to that. Okay. Take this to the fucking dome then. I'm also watching Sea-Dog VA's Cyclothon in the background, so you might hear Iron Mouse singing randomly. There we go. That was easy. Hey, hey, hey. I'm gonna kill this motherfucker for hitting me. Banana. Fuck this guy. I hate how he's invincible to pretty much everything but that attack. Next is Diddy or Donkey Kong. Also, can I just be honest with you guys? So V2 Studio, if you guys haven't seen on Twitter, as of like a week or two ago, they released an update that allows you to put sound effects on your model. So like you could add like, you know, the key jingling noise if you have like metal things that move around or whatever. And I'm not gonna lie, I am kind of stupid, and I had the idea to put the milk noise for my titties because, you know, for obvious reasons. Like, I'm an actual idiot for saying that I want to do that, but like it's true. That would be fun. It would be fun. It'd be stupid, but it'd be fun. I fucked up. That was actually his eyebrow. Yeah, I feel like that'd be a little too much though. Let me be entirely honest. I'm assuming I have to make DK. Yeah. I just assumed I'm DK. I'm gonna make DK. Yeah. Fuck you. I do think that would just be a little... That'd potentially be a little too much. Even for me, I'm not gonna lie. Is that it here? That's everything here, right? Yeah. Have fun with it. I'm okay, maybe. I just gotta make sure I can make it not extremely fucking loud, because I feel like that'd be creepy. I don't know, I just want to have fun. And I always talk about how, like, the whole thing of, like, if I ever get a drink named after me, I'm gonna call it Dragon's Milk. It's like, it's right there. Okay. Now we go back to Tiny, I think. Be a squirrel and go nuts. Go nuts on some nuts, I guess? Question mark? Is that what you're trying to say? Be a monkey and go bananas. Hey, hold up. You guys might be cooking. The fuck is this thing? Go nuts on my nuts. Unfortunately, no. I don't do that. Chunky. I'm just gonna keep going until I get the next teleporter, and then I'll become chunky. Which is right here. Perfect. Oh my god. Wait, I'm gonna keep going. There's a lot of bananas here. I died. Ah, you bitch. He's dead. No, fucking Tiny's dead. That's what happened. What the hell? Oh, I'm glad I noticed that. Oh, shit. Alright. Where the fuck am I? Oh, I know where I am. You know, I've been thinking of buying a sound alerts subscription, because I can only have 10 sound alerts right now, and I had to take one away to put in what's going on, and I don't want to do that. I just want to keep adding. So I'm debating doing that and adding even more sound alerts. We go back to Tiny, because Tiny had some banana, which was teleporter 4. Oh my god, Iron Mouse is singing, oh god, I don't know what the song's called, but it's from a band called The Ketchup. If you guys don't know what that band is, it was a one-hit wonder in, I think, specifically Mexico. It was just a really funny song that just stuck. Shit. The Ketchup song? No, the band is called Las Ketchup. That's what I said. I forget what the actual song name is, because the song name is actually stupid as hell. It legitimately is gibberish, I'm pretty sure. Get closer! Ah, fuck this. I'm going for the aimbot arrows. Where the fuck did he go? Fuck you. But yeah, if you just look up Last SketchUp, like, you know, just how you call like a person, you'll probably find their only song that it was ever worth a damn. And it's legitimately gibberish as far as I remember. It's like a fun song. It's catchy, but it's legitimate gibberish. It even had its own song associated with it. Not a song, dance, I mean. Why did I say song? I don't know. I'm busy thinking about music, that's why. Oh my god, Tiny has all the bananas in this Yeah, said it hit. Yeah. Again, I'm like 99% sure that shit's just fucking gibberish. Oh my god. Oh my god, no damage. I'm a genius. It's a banger. It is a banger. It is a good song. It's catchy. There's a reason it got popular. It's just actual fucking gibberish as far as I remember. Like, it doesn't mean it's not a good song. Like, for God's sakes, man, like 90% of the world's population fucking loved Gangnam Style. Nobody knew how to speak Korean. I think the difference is, I think I said his actually gibberish, whereas, you know, Gangnam Style is just in Korean. Fed from Spain showed it. Were they Spanish? I think they were I know they were Hispanic. I just don't know if they were. I feel like they were Mexican, but maybe that's just because they were in all of like Latin America being popular. I don't know what region they're actually from. Let me be entirely honest there. Why does she never get her own Switch? She's the only one that hasn't gotten a Switch yet. Your friend was just, I don't know. I'm just saying, it's surprising if it was a Latin America only sensation, why it became why it hit Spain of all places as well. Get your rainbows out, guys. Rainbow coin. For those of you who don't know why that rainbow coin is special, it gives you 5 banana coins to every character, which usually they're color coded. That one's just 5 for everybody. Lanky's who it was. Was actually a really good collectible. They really want to talk like they got something to say. I miss when songs were just fucking gibberish. Like, I liked when songs were just kind of weird. Holy shit! Chill the fuck out, guys. Holy fuck. Ooh. Ooh. You gotta find the weird now? Yeah, that's true. That's not what I wanted to do, but I wanted to do this because I see there's 2 of them. There's another one. It goes because it's a grape. There's 2 of them, maybe 3, maybe 4. There's one behind me, I'm pretty sure. You gotta find the weird now. I'm the weird now. I'm kidding. I'm like the most normal person that ever existed. I'm not gonna lie. Like if I were a SpongeBob character, I would be Smooth SpongeBob. Oh, you gotta do both. That's fair. Like the one that just goes, "Hi, how are you?" The fuck? You don't need a what? You don't need a what? What the fuck was that there for then?
Welcome to bonus stage.
Fuck! I said no more beaver bother. Okay, guys, strap in for another 30 fucking minutes of this shit. Lock in. I kind of do remember my strategy for how to actually do it. It's just does the RNG and like me enough to give me what I want. Like right there, this motherfucker just got stuck. If you noticed, right there too. Like, don't worry about saying, "Oh no, this again," because if you notice, I kind of got the lockdown. Like, I think the last 10 minutes of attempts last week, I actually understood how to manipulate these guys. Yeah, I'm not gonna get it first try, but that's fine. I was 1 away. Remember, the first time I only got fucking 5.
Welcome to bonus stage.
I got this. Shouldn't take me much longer. I might even do this attempt at this point. No, never mind. I think they're too spread out. Stuck in the corner, of course. I might just go non-verbal mode and lock in for this shit, because I fucking hate this minigame. Okay. Get your ass in there. Oh, you bitch. That motherfucker. Ugh. He straddled the fucking edge there. That was the one.
Welcome to bonus stage.
No, it's fine. I did have plenty of time. It's just sometimes they just like get stuck on a fake corner and don't go in. Like that. And that one just actually walked over the hole, didn't go in. I just know I noticed you, motherfucker. You just didn't go in. Man, fuck you guys for being stuck on the actual corners of the room. Get in! Oh, you motherfucker. Get in! No. I'm getting real close though. Okay. Alright, I'm not being as tilted as the first time. I understand how to work this now. Get out of the corner, please, because I literally cannot beat the game unless you guys get out of the corner. The corner is for loading and unloading only. Thank you very much. Boop, thanks for the boop. You walked over the hole, motherfucker. Get in there. Get in, thank you. I'm not gonna get this one. Too many of them like straddled the edge and didn't actually go in. Like, oh my god, that motherfucker actually walked in and back out. Oh, it's just like a fucking fair game. You throw it right in the you throw the ring at the bottle and it just bounces out, even though your aim was perfect. You know, it's actually a pretty good comparison to this though. It's like a fucking fair game. Meow. Like, it's just designed to piss you off because it's just slightly off. I'm not gonna get this. This one's already, like, this one's fucked. I only got 330 seconds. Nah, this one's fucked. Ah. Get out of the corner. Thank you. Just stay out of the corners. Get your asses in, please. Get your fat ass in there. By the way, these guys' names are called Naughty, and they are being just that. How the fuck did I get a double there? There's a very minor chance I can get this one. Nah, close.
Welcome to bonus stage.
I was praying there wasn't a second beaver bother in this stage, and there was. I feel like Rare realized that beaver bother is one of their worst mini games, and like, let's just put this shit at the end of this, at the end of the stage. This motherfucker fell and got back up. No! Oh, honestly, I had a very small chance of making that, and I tried. Alright.
Welcome to bonus stage.
I think I realized... I might be realizing how they actually fall in. There's a very small chance I'm actually realizing something, or I'm just getting really lucky and it's consistent right now. No, I think I've just fucking downloaded this game. Fucking, I'm Neo in the Matrix. I just see the, I see the code now. Get the fuck in there. Do not fuck me. This motherfucker's gonna fuck me, isn't he? We're good. Oh my god. Oh my god. How do I get back up there? I just took free damage. Alright, we got it. Okay, we're good. Take more damage, motherfucker. Fuck you. For giving me beaver bother up here. Oh, okay, we're good. We're done. Hopefully that's the last beaver bother. Do not look that up if that's true or not. I am praying to the fucking gods. I think the next one was DK that I saw. I'm praying to the gods that we're fucking done with this bullshit minigame. Oh, ad break. What a good time. Oh, God. Fuck you. It was in fact DK. The library. It's the Statue of Liberty. Excuse me? Where the fuck's the library at? I'm assuming it's down. I don't know why I knew it was down. I just assumed it was. Yeah, fuck this fucking bat. I will take these because I'm assuming they're giving me homing ammo for a reason. Also, this stage reminds me the most of a Banjo-Kazooie stage. I think it's because of the music. Motherfucker's walking through things. I guess he is a ghost. That would make sense. Is this like a random battle theater kind of stage? Oh, switch. Now, what does this do? It opens up a door on the other side. Oh, I guess I had to go through here, huh? Yeah, this reminds me of... Oh, it's not Mad Monster Mansion, even though it's the vibe that it's giving. I would say this reminds me kind of just the Grunty's Castle theme, actually. I think that's why it reminds me of a Banjo-Kazooie level. It's Cheeto! It's just fucking Cheeto! Huh? They just reused Cheeto's model. Tano Chameleon. What's up? I just realized I got all 100 DK bananas. Hi. One more. Yeah. Anyway, I guess we're done. Jesus, Tanner, you're doing everything. Anyway, hi, welcome in. How you doing? How's your Thursday going? Oh, I think next was Chunky. I know there's a Lanky switch further down too at actual teleporter 4, but I think Lanky's next. Anyway, you just missed me playing the worst minigame in history in this game. Oh, it's Diddy, never mind. Literally in front of this is Diddy with the ballroom. Gotta get my dose of Rinadrill? Nice. Does that mean I help you with allergies? Is that what you're saying? This motherfucker. I'm gonna kill him because I fucking hate these enemies. How am I doing today? I'm doing pretty good, actually. I spent some time with a friend. I went out shopping and, I don't know. Just overall had a pretty good time. Help me feel calm. Is that what Benadryl does? Just helps people remain calm? Why is this so loud? Why are they laughing at me? Why is there a tiny switch? Also, it's the giggle from Mad Monster Mansion of those ghosty enemies. But yeah, I had a pretty good day though. I also did a little bit of working out, and by little bit I mean I did 15 minutes at max intensity of my the bike my family had. I didn't get the fucking things. Diddy, please. Diddy, please. Diddy, please. Thank you. Oh my god, I hate the camera on this thing. Get the fuck moving. Jesus Christ, I fucking hate when this thing gets caught. Anyway, do I really help you guys feel calm? Like, I'm swearing at you guys like crazy. Wait, where's the tag barrel? How the fuck is Tiny supposed to get here? What? Wait, where did the thing go? I'm glad I did this. What's up there? Bop. Go! There we go. Please do not be Beaver Bother again. Okay, we're okay. This mini game is tilting, but it doesn't piss me off like Beaver Bother does. I fucked up. I forgot what the strategy is for this game now.
Welcome to
I think it's
bonus stage.
speed up, go in, slow down, I think is the answer. There we go. Shit. Wait, no, we're good. No, we're not. I have to speed up there. I think the best bet here is staying on the outside because it gives you more time to figure out what's going on. I think it's this is what I want to do. There we go. And then we speed all the way up so we can go back inside. There we go. Have to be very careful because these guys are off sync. Shit! I think I got checkmated here. Yeah, because they both went to the outside. As soon as I saw what was happening, I'm like, I have no out.
Welcome to bonus stage.
I think my only out was actually figuring out I had no out and going fast. No. So this worked. I just had to not be a fucking idiot. No. Okay, you get to stay in with me. That's fine. Go, go, go. Okay, we're good. Shit. I thought he was on the second ring, not the first one. My bad.
Welcome to bonus stage.
Welcome to bonus stage. No! I can't have them both be on the same side because then I just lose.
Welcome to bonus stage.
God, it's fucking 60 seconds of survival too. It's kind of crazy. Okay. Okay, where are they at? They're not going out yet. They will be going out here and I lose actually. Shit. I was keeping an eye and I was like, I actually lose because they covered both of my entrances. Okay, what next? We gotta go in. I know that. Have to go in again. And I think I go in again and just prepare. He's gonna go in here, so I go in here. Then I go in here, he goes in there, and I go out. Then I go further out here. Then I do this and go out again. Shit. I gotta speed up. Okay, then we speed up again. We go in, and we gotta speed up to go out. There we go. Holy shit. Okay, we got it. Now where the fuck, how do I get Tiny in here? Oh, where the fuck is the Kong barrel? What the fuck? Oh, does this stay open? Is that what's going on? Wait, where the fuck am I taking Tiny to? Because there's the, oh, that's the, oh, that's the, oh, that's the teleporter switch. I forgot. I thought that was her Tiny barrel. That's her warp head. God, there's so many abilities in this game. I just realized. Whoa. Get out of here. Okay, is it still open? It's still open. Okay, we're good. Yeah, so this is how you get Tiny in. Oh, she's she has she's almost done. We're kind of cruising through this stage. I just realized we have a lot of bananas. I guess it's because it's the tower, so it's kind of easy to figure out where you're going. Teleport. Where the fuck am I? Oh. Oh. There's a banana fairy here, first of all. Missed. Wait, did I get it? I didn't get it. Also, if you guys hear the Six Flags theme song, Iron Mouse is singing it. How did I miss when it was all green for like 5 seconds? How did that not count? What the fuck? I'm so upset about this. Bitch. Bitch. I fucking missed again. Got it. Now the flick worked. Whee! How many do I have now? 17, I think? Wait, there's a tiny pad here. Or the tiny thing here right there. Aha! I was like, where's the shrink barrel? Ba, 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 ba. Oh no. Okay, we got a race. Hey Tiny, it's me again. I've managed to get hold of another shiny banana, but if you can beat me in another 2-lap race and get 10 coins, it's all yours. Press Z to speed up and use blue to steer. Here we go. Fucking love this song. All the songs in this game are great. I missed a coin because I jumped over it. Also, how is he so much faster than me? I have 10 coins. I could just ignore everything, by the way. Shit, never mind. I could just win and just ignore everything. I didn't realize those barrels were explosive. It's toys with a Z. How cool. That sucks. It's fine. I can miss 5 and we're good. I still have 10 coins. We're good. We're chilling. Can I even win? This motherfucker runs through the explosives and doesn't die. Oh my god. I lose now. I don't think I have 3 coins I can grab now. Yeah, he slows down at the end, so I can win. I just fucked up and I just touched the fucking box at the end. I said, haha, this is easy, and I touched the bomb for fun. See ya, wouldn't wanna be ya. Also, this minigame makes me want to play Diddy Kong Racing. Oopsie. Me when I swerve into oncoming traffic. Oopsie. I like how he's beating me now, even though I was whooping his ass at the start. You bitch, you almost fucking ruined my day there. Oh, if I lose here because I crashed into that wall, now we're good. We're okay. We're chilling. Sob, it's not fair. You gotta beat me. God, of course. It's supposed to be one of my only possession now. Sniff. Snarf, narf. That's what I think of when he says sniff. Oh, I just realized DK's done. Do I have his curse plat? Yeah, DK's just done. That's awesome. I didn't even realize that. There's a teleporter back here that I saw. This is the end of her stuff. Nice shot. So I'm done with her, I think. What's this? Just nothing? What is this? Just a random pedestal? This can't be nothing, can it? Idea. Hang on. Has a little spiral thing on him. I guess nothing. What the fuck? I guess it's just decoration. Okay. So Tiny's done? Is that what I saw? No, she has one more banana. Oh, one banana and her splat, wherever the fuck that is. Did I see the purple splat yet? I don't think I did. I wonder, can you actually not kill that guy without the super slam or whatever the fuck you want to call it? Who is it? There's a little bit of switch for this one. Whose switch is it? Is it Lanky again, surprisingly? It is Lanky again, surprisingly. Whee! Mimi! Oopla! Oh. I have to Looney Tunes my way to victory there again. What is in here? I have no idea. It's okay. It's a loading zone. What the fuck? We're in a maze. Nice banana. Oh shit. That's not fun for me. Oh god, I shouldn't grab these things. I should just go for the end. I was like, are those bananas? They up the ignore the triples. Go towards the bananas. Oh, I see that. Oh my god, I fucked up. Oh. That was fucking easy. What the fuck? Huh? Hmm? God damn it. Now I want to go back there. Because I saw this barrel over here. Which I think that's a Lanky barrel just for the super handspring or whatever. What'd you miss? I'm a fucking gamer. That's what you missed. Hang on. Oh my god. He's gonna fucking die. I forgot to turn off my blue light filter. It's gonna turn on in a second. We had, if you weren't there, I ran into a second beaver bother. Which if you remember from last stream, I don't know if you do remember from last stream. Ow. Beaver bother just like pissed me off. But I got this one in like 5 minutes or something. No. How does yours supersede mine? Yeah, there was a second one in this stage, and I got war flashbacks, but I actually ended up beating it pretty easily. Look at his swagger walk. Die! I love Lanky's swag walk. Look at him. I still don't know what these crowns are for, but I'm grabbing them. Lanky is so funny. He is really funny. He is Lanky. I don't know how to get out of this now. Queenie needs a crown. Maybe. What is Iron Mouse singing right now? I'm just listening to her going crazy. Take the damn crown? Nuh-uh. That's not mine. Is it I need a hero? I don't know. I can barely hear it. Like, I hear the game. It might be I need a hero. I don't know. It is? That's funny. Can you hear it that well? Wait. I'm missing her Kersplat, right? Where the fuck is it? There's a Lanky thing down here. Maybe it's in the museum. You hear enough of it? Oh, I'm surprised it's loud enough that you can hear and be able to tell when I can't even hear it. And it's my own audio. Fuck. Like my favorite movie when I was a kid. Oh, okay. It triggers something. Maybe that's why you can recognize it, but I can't. Chunky, I believe, was what I needed to switch for, which was from Switch or Teleporter 4, I believe. All I'm missing, if I recall, if I noticed, it's just chunky bananas and a curse and 2 bananas as well, and 1 Kersplat and a banana for Tiny. Oh, I need a whole section for Diddy too. Oh shit. All right, I'm missing a whole section then, because this is very clearly a chunky only area, or not a chunky only area, but a place that'll probably have chunky bananas. But there's probably another section I'm missing that has Diddy Kong bananas. Unless this has both somehow. Like this could be big enough, I guess. Oh, it's this stage. It's this section, but from the other side. What is this? Like, what actually is this? How did that one miss? Oh, I need a big boulder. That's what I need. So this is nothing but like a small area. Where'd I get that boulder? Can I get big and like punch these things? Is that what's going on? Let's see, usually killing everything spawns something. Now I'm hearing, tell me what you want, what you really, really want. I forget who sings that, but... Is that Spice Girls? Am I correct in thinking that? No, it's the other girl group, isn't it? No. Can I shoot this? Is it Spice Girls? Really? Why am I feeling like it's not a Spice Girl slug? Why am I thinking that? Do they both open? Is that what's going on? Can I shoot the eyes? Is it like the dongle's camera situation? Nope. Very much is not. How do I open this thing then? It's very clearly I have to get big. I have to become big, chunky. But what do I do to get big? Can I like break this? No. What about this one? Let me in. Do I have to kill him somehow? Does that count? Nope. I'm lost. I'm confused. I'm very lost. Is there something I have to do as tiny? Because like there's nothing in that room. There's no boulder, there's no nothing. Can I pick this up somehow? Ah. Did I not try this? Like actually, did I somehow not try that? And that gives me the boulder. Can pick up a boulder with relative ease. There's a banana in there too. Is there a banana in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me? I'm missing one green balloon somewhere. That's my assumption anyway. Woohoo! I might have a banana. Listen, bananas are great for potassium. Yeah. I realized that anytime I've been like so exhausted, my legs hurt. It's because I don't it's because I don't have enough potassium in my diet, so I just munch on a banana and I feel better. I stole your bit. You need to be faster. So where the hell am I missing this green balloon at? But we stole a balloon! Yeah, on free balloon day. I'm gonna go take a walk. Better bring back some milk. You guys believe Pecunia's leaving and not bringing any milk? You have all the milk? Maybe. You don't know that for sure. There is a green switch I am missing. Or a green thing. There's that Diddy thing too. I gotta look around. Also, I don't have all the milk. I have like, I don't know, how much do you think this holds? Like 2 or 3 liters worth? It cannot hold all the milk. No. So there's something I'm missing, like an entire small section. Also, welcome back from the ads, everybody. I just noticed the ads are done. Don't even need a glass. Yeah, you don't need a glass. There was a banana in there. Was there actually? I forget what's actually in like the default like tits image library. I think a banana is true. All right, I need to look around. Crazy how there wasn't milk in my tits. Let me be honest. I used to have them before I changed my computer. If you remember, I moved things around because my like the blue screen that happened at one time. I did have like a giant fucking juice carton of milk, and I had to get rid of it. Not get rid of it, but rather I just never got it back. Oh, she's thinking Britney Spears now. That's what it is. Isn't that default? I don't think the one I had, because it was actual like a pretty big 3D object, but like the things you threw were probably like half the size of like the milk carton that that I had, along with the whole ass bear. There's a bear in there. There's also an Eevee that you guys might be able to throw at me if you press it enough times, which I think is just silly. That one's not default. I added that. Ow. There's a burger, there's some bits. Thank you, Rage. I don't think you got lucky enough to get the Eevee though. The hell am I missing though, by the way? Oh, there's the Kersplat. Come on, Tiny. Get over here, Tiny. I think it was the first issue. Was there an Eevee in there? I couldn't tell. It might have been the bear. The bear and the Eevee are very similar. Something before that. It could have been the bear. Oh, this is the entrance. Oh shit, so it's like behind me further. I like this song, by the way. Yeah, it really does remind me of can't think, Banjo-Kazooie. I don't understand why there's two Diddy barrels. I guess it's just to get to the top of the tower quickly. Motherfucker, I forgot I can't jump while I'm charging this thing. I tried to jump. Woohoo! Woohoo! Anyway, how's your guys' Thursday going? Motherfucker. I hate this thing being on a random ass ledge. dealing with allergies. Oh, I'm sorry. Good talk with the friend. Practice pronunciation. Ooh, that's nice. It's nice that you're helping someone able to speak, I'm assuming English, a little better. Like how you said that as if like that wasn't like the opposite of what you were trying to say. Like, oh shit, I can't see. I can't believe I hit the gap out of everything. Oh my god, this is kind of. I'm gonna just use arrows on him because it's kind of pissing me off that he just knocks you off the edge. I'm a funny bitch. Yes, I am. I agree. Oh, hang on. Apparently bitch was okay, bitches was not. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Bitch was okay, but bitches was not. What the fuck? He just ate that shit. Please get off the edge. I do not want the thing to fall. Oh god. Alright, so we have all of these things now. So what am I missing? It's one banana for her, one banana for him, and one banana for Diddy. There's a whole section for Diddy I'm missing. Alright, I'm just gonna become Diddy because obviously it's just one whole section for him. The green balloon I'll probably find somewhere. The tiny banana, or the tiny banana I'll just find somewhere as well because she's just done with everything besides that one golden banana. So I think I'd have to explore as Diddy now. Oh, I have an idea. It might be at the very top of the tower. Which is why I have multiple Diddy barrels around. I'm going to assume for some reason it's at the very top of the tower. How did I know? Oh, this one's fine. Big Bug Bash. I'm okay with this minigame. I like the little whack noise that happens. Little thwack. He's dodging me. Ultra Instinct Bug. How did that one miss? Please stop. These things fly randomly and it pisses me off. Oh my god, that one should have hit. There we go. Okay. Okay. Alright, so this is done. I saw some more bananas somewhere. Where are they? There you are. Okay, that's it, I guess. There's still a whole nother section for Diddy. So he's done minus his bananas, but where the fuck are they? I'm gonna do something funny and look it up because I'm funny. I'm genuinely curious. Why I'm missing what I'm missing, where I'm missing it, because I have no idea what's going on. Just like bananas, because it's a whole section I'm missing. I just wonder where. What song is she singing? I have no idea. Oh, I know this song now. I just don't know what it's called. Oh, my stream froze. I hope I'm not dead to you guys. I might be dying. I might be dead. I think I'm dead to you guys. I think I'm dead. Oh, am I just missing something? Hmm. 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 Really now? I'm looking at this stuff, but I'm a little confused. Oh, I think I know what I'm missing. Still here? You guys are fine. I was legitimately looking up what I was missing. I knew I was still here. I was fine. This is gonna be weird if this is what I'm missing. It's just his bananas. What the fuck? Where? Wait, what actual bananas am I missing? Golden ones. 1 and 1. Okay, I think I know where they both are. Do I? Did I already forget? I think I already forgot. I'm kidding. I think one's in here. Where the hell am I missing his bananas at, though? It's not in here. That's not right. Okay, this is not the right spot. I think I know where I'm going. It's not this area. It's because 2 of the entrances look exactly the same. I think this exit takes me closer to where I want to go, though. Sort of, maybe, kind of, not really. I know where I want to go, though. It's not here. It is down from here, I think. And then down from here as well, I believe, if I can. I'm actually confused as to where 25 fucking Diddy bananas are gonna be at, by the way. That's what's confusing to me. Ow! Is it actually in here? I'm gonna take a look everywhere in here. It is not in here, I believe. Oh wait, there's a Diddy thing here. I think I saw it up there. Yeah. So there's that. Someone's saying 15 bananas. Fucking where? I'm gonna check in here still. Pretty sure I've done everything in here, but I'm just gonna look everywhere because it's just bananas that I'm missing. Ba, 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 da, ba, ba. I've done this. There's no balloon anywhere. No banana anywhere. I don't think doing this will do anything for me, but I'll check it out anyway. That's 4. I thought that was going to be 2. Did that do anything? No, okay. Making sure. Making absolutely sure. Diddy Kong. Oh, Donkey Kong. I guess that's true also. So it's not in here, which is good to know. Oh, I guess we check this side too. Alright, yeah, definitely not here. Ugh. Okay. I'm gonna go use the restroom real quick. I will be right back in a couple of minutes, okay? Don't go nowhere. Where's my BRB at? There it is. Okay, we're back. Sorry, I'm a little delayed there. I had to double check on some stuff. But we're back. Hello, everybody. Also, I did Google where Diddy's bananas are, by the way. One of them, I don't understand how you're supposed to know where they are, because it is in this room. And I'll show you guys how to get it. It's kind of bullshit, I'm not gonna lie. Welcome back, thank you, Tano. Also, can I just say, I feel like somebody's sabotaging me lately, the last like month. Like, I don't want to go into detail, but like I'm seeing things during stream, before stream, that like, I don't know, it feels like somebody doesn't like me and is out to get me. Anyway, so the way you're supposed to do it is hit one of these incorrectly, and it's just in there. Again, as to how you're supposed to know that it's in there, I guess they expect you to get it wrong. Anyway, I know where the last one's at, but that one just kind of pissed me off. Because I'm like, okay, what if you just don't get the fucking thing wrong? How are you ever supposed to know that it's in there? Ow! Anyway. Where am I going? Oh yeah, no, I know where I'm going. Diddy's last bananas. I've seen. I just forgot that I saw them, by the way. Like literally, I've seen where they are. I even make note of them. Ow, I'm sorry, I hit my microphone stand. Apologies. Wait, that's not where I want to go. It's this way. It is, I think, down this level. Yes. It's right over here near Cranky. Again, I've seen this. I saw this as I was climbing up here. I forgot that I did. So Diddy's done now, so enjoy the ads. You motherfucker. Where's the nearest Kong barrel? It's over here. So, Chunky's final banana is here. I just, again, forgot that there's literally a door that despawns over here to tell you, hey, this thing can go away. All of his stuff there. Excuse me? Motherfucker's in my asshole. I can't see him. No, banana. So he's done. And now Tiny's. I remember where it was. I got stuck looking for Diddy stuff. Here we go. That's already banana though, right? Like regular banana? Yes, it's just Tiny's golden. How do you get that, by the way? Maybe you can like ledge grab, I guess? Seems like a really bad idea though. What am I looking for again? I already forgot what I'm doing, besides, you know, trying to get the banana, obviously. Not there, that's too far away. Is it here? Did I not enter here already? I did. Whoa, over here. I think I remember doing Lanky's side here, but never the Tiny side. Oh wait, could I not do? I think I couldn't do this because I needed her Simian Slam, right? The little red switch, is that what I needed? I think that's what I needed. Yeah, I think I remember now. Yeah, I needed her fucking... Yeah, I needed this and I couldn't do it. God damn it, I just forgot. Those are hands. And a lot of them. Oh, banana. Is it timed? Oh, it's not timed, but they go up and down. Like my penis. Sorry. Really? This cycle kind of sucks ass, I just realized. I almost just fell off. We got it! Alright, we're done. Okay, Creepy Castle is now donezo. I have to go to the boss now, though. Where is the boss? Where's the nearest boss entrance? I think it's here, right? Like literally just around the corner. Yeah. You bitch. Alright, who's this boss gonna be? But this is the 7th stage. It's only been 5 columns. Is it another donkey maybe? It might be another Donkey Kong. 400 bananas! Well, we're gonna be here for a while. Strap in and strap on, baby. surprisingly wasn't that long. Next. That's actually kind of crazy though. You need 80 bananas roughly per Kong. Okay. Bat, 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 bat. One more. Right. Oh, it's Lanky. Who does Lanky fight? Is it it's not another one of the boat fights, right? Who the fuck would Lanky fight? Woohoo! Alright, who do we got? Do I remember? Do I know this boss? I might know this boss. What are they doing? They're banging their wood on, or banging on some wood, sorry. They're jamming, kind of. Oh. What the fuck? They do look like they're banging wood. They are. They're 100% banging wood. What the fuck is this boss? Oh, there goes his arm. Me and my bro just banging wood. What the fuck hit me? He's been disarmed. Well, halfway disarmed. Well, it's a fake one alongside the real one is gonna suck. But good thing I know how to tell the real from the fake, by the way. If you don't know, you never played Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. The answer is the one that's brighter is the real one. Always. The shadow? Does it have a shadow? No, I'm just telling by the fact that it's literally brighter. God, I love the noises for this boss. Hi Fudge. How's it going? Shadow loves the teamness. She does, or he does. I'm doing pretty good. How the fuck do I fight this thing? Just like... Oh shit. If I miss, I just lose a Kong. I fucked up. I was trying to go for that one. This is weird as hell. I have to hit him as he's hitting me, that's what it is. Fuck. The fuck is up with this boss? What the fuck? I'm so confused. Like, actually confused for this boss. That fucking made me miss on purpose because I was in the barrel and he hit me. I think I understand what's up with this boss, but that just fucked me, it pissed me off. Again. Yeah, I can see he's going counterclockwise. He hit me out of the barrel animation. That's kind of crazy. Again. Okay, what the fuck do they want me to do then? I'm just gonna start over. That kind of pissed me off though, let me be honest. Did I just go in here again? Did this just take me to the thing? Nope. But like both times when I actually was aiming for him, he just literally hit me out of the fucking air. So I'm like, okay, I guess you don't get ahead of him. I don't know. I'll beat him. It's just that kind of annoyed me. And I don't actually know where the nearest boss portal is gonna be. Thank you guys. I can see why people would hate this boss as a kid. It's kind of annoying. I'm assuming it's potentially made easier with actual N64 lag. I'm not even gonna like pretend that's not a John. The fuck's the nearest boss portal, man? Are they all in the random ass areas? I guess so, huh? Did you see it? I'm doing pretty okay. Got a very minor annoyance today, not this boss at all, just in general. But like, I'll be fine. Anyway, let's just beat this shit up. Do I have to start as lanky apparently? Actually, I think the laser phase is not when I actually want to hit him, I'm not gonna lie. Like, should I shoot this? I wasn't sure if I wanted to actually do that. The fucking thing hit me. It's a long fight too, because it's 3 hits per break. Gimmick of the Greca's blueprints and gimmick of their hair. Yeah, that's cool. By the way, they're not called Greca's, they're called Cursed Plats. That's dark. It's this one. He hit me, motherfucker. Bonk. They're called that in C64. Yeah, exactly. Did I see the new Mario? I did. I saw it day one. I thought it was wonderful. A lot of people might say they were disappointed in the movie. I was not. Fast enough. I see what I gotta do though. I hate this fucking camera angle, like legitimately pissing me off. He was never gonna reach the one I was aiming at, which is funny. Oh my god, it doesn't actually go once I shoot. Okay, so I have to shoot as he's appearing, not literally preparing. Okay, that's actually not that bad. Okay, that's actually easier. Nah, we're chill. We're actually chill. This fucking camera angle pisses me off though. Yeah, that's easy. One more, I think, should do it. Goodbye. Is he dead now? Yep, I think he's dead now. Twist his dick! I see that. Hang on. There you go. Uh-oh. You better run. Favorite Kong other than Donkey in this game? Chunky's pretty cool. I'm always pretty partial to Diddy whenever he's around, I'm not gonna lie. Also, I might need to start Googling where the banana fairies are, because I'm not done yet. I don't think I have them all yet, I'm not gonna lie. If there's one in the final area, then we're chilling, but if there's not one in the final area... Also, favorite Kong in the game is not off topic at all, by the way. I'm gonna go once again and check in the fairies, see if it's actually finished or not after finishing that stage. It's on there well hidden. Yeah, the reason I know is because I do know that the banana fairies give you a banana, the 201st banana, which allows you to get the 101%. So I do plan to go get it. I'm gonna go check. I wish there was some way to tell how many banana fairies I had. I don't think there is. Your favorite is King Kong? That's fair. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's a way. Oh wait. 17 out of 20. We are not done. But yeah, should I just look up where they are, by the way? Because we're going to the final area right now. I might just have to Google these final three to be 100% accurate on what I might be missing. I still have to remember which ones I haven't gone, by the way. Final key! Final happy dance. Oh, so I know where that is now. But I also know that the final stage relies on your blueprint turn-in rate, which I need to go just any Snide HQ and turn them in. But first, it's time for good old-fashioned Mr. G. Oogle. I wish this particular one had images. It does not. This one also does not, but it might do better. Hey, Croc, where are the bananas? Alright, I'm just gonna use this list. Alright. Okay. Alright, so I'm just gonna go stage by stage. I don't know which ones I haven't gotten because there's no images. If there were images, I'd have a good idea of which one I haven't gotten yet. So we're just gonna go like area by area. There's one over here which I'm pretty sure I've gotten, but I'm gonna go double check. Yeah, making sure. We're good there. Anyway, I don't think think we're gonna finish the game tonight. I'll probably leave the last little bit for next week, just because I feel like we could probably finish it tonight, but finding the banana fairies might take me like 20-30 minutes, and I don't know how long the final area is. There's a teleporter here I can take. Conquer's bed for a day win. That's on the list, don't worry. Plan out that content. I just have an idea of how I want things to go. So up here should be one. Familiar with a certain coin? What, the hidden rainbow coin? Yep. SmackDown versus Raw 2005. I might just choose a different game if I go for a wrestling game. The hidden rainbow coin in Fungi Forest, I believe it is. Did I do this yet? Oh, the rare coin? I have that. That's fine. Don't worry. I'll show you what I got right now. Here, I'll show you. I'm missing 2 crowns somehow. I'm missing 1 boss key. How am I missing? Does I don't have bananas? Right there, rare coin. I got it. And the Nintendo coin. Don't worry. What the fuck? I need fucking images, man. This is bullshit. I need images. I might even look up a fucking YouTube video. Make it easier on me. It's required to beat the game. I heard that. Don't worry. Don't worry, we're chilling. There's no images. You fucking serious? Y'all serious? Nobody's got images? Nobody's got images? Alright, you know what we're doing? I'm looking up a YouTube video. I'm cheating. I got that one. I think I got that one. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I got that one. Oh, I definitely got this one. Okay, so I got the Hub World ones. We're good. All right, so far we're chilling. We're chilling. Oh, ad break. Can't find the big banana. I cannot find the big banana. I'm sorry. Oh, is there a way to figure out which ones I'd have and which ones I don't have? Can I click it? I cannot. That's mildly upsetting. Fuck. I guess we go stage by stage. Oh, banana. We have all the overworld ones. That's really unfortunate. You have to. Where's Jungle Jape's entrance at? Does anybody remember? Is it here? Is it just this one? I think it is just this. Yeah, I'm going stage by stage. Make it easy on myself. Just so I don't, you know, knock something out. Okay, I'm missing one. Wait. I'm missing one. I just realized, because Hideout Helm has 2. I just looked up the list. Oh my god. I'm missing a single one. Hold on, which one could I be missing? I'm gonna look at this list and see if I can tell which one I'm missing. Got that one. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba. I think it's Fungi Forest. Wait, I think it's Fungi Forest. Wait. I think it's actually Fungi Forest. It's Richmond Hydrate. Fine. Thank you. Thank you, Red. It's good to see you too. The good thing about missing one or a few gems in Spyro, they have a gem radar. I'm gonna go to Fungi Forest. I'm assuming it's the one I'm literally reading. I'm going to assume it's this. There's 2 in Hideout Helm. That's 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, yeah. I'm gonna go to Fungi Forest and I'm gonna assume I'm correct. If I'm wrong, I go back to Jungle Japes and I'm just gonna go stage by stage. I think Fungi Forest is this one, right? Or just a factory? Can't tell. Okay, it's Fungi Forest, okay. Ow! Paula? Leona, you're here again? Hi, what the fuck? Did you throw a Master Ball? Because if so, you caught me. If you didn't get a Master Ball, I have to roll a dice for you. Anyway, hi Leona. I'm surprised you're here. I thought you said you hated Twitch Mobile. Alright. Catgirl jump scare. It's actually Catgirl jump scare. Hi though, how you doing? How's work? Just want to say hi? Okay. Hi. I actually went to the right way. It's over here. If I'm correct, it'll be here. If I'm correct, which I probably am not, I'm not gonna lie. Like, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think I'm right. But I think it is this one. I think it's this. Wait, no. No, I did get this one. I know where it is now. Wait, is it this one? Huh? There's a box in here I can break. Where? Donde está? I think I got it though. I'm not gonna lie. I don't see the box, which means I think I got it. Shit! So it's not this one. Fuck. That sucks. That's unfortunate. Yeah, I just wanted to check. Okay, so it's not there. Fuck. Okay. Oh, back to the list I go. Back to the list I go. Would it be early? Because it honestly legitimately might be in Jungle Jays because I don't think I had the camera back then. All right, it's probably not here. Hold on, what else was there? So the mountain walkways. Did he get enter at night? I'm gonna check because I'm in this stage. What does this do? Nothing important. I think it's up here. What this is telling me about? Shit. All right, it might be in here. I don't think it is because again, I feel like I would have heard it and I would have seen it. Oh, it's not in here. No, this isn't the room I wanted. Is it here of all places? Where the fuck, man? No. Not here either. Alright, back to the video. Since I'm in Fungi Forest, I will look specifically at the Fungi Forest area. I wish this video had like exact areas. Oh, I definitely got that one. I'll keep looking though. Here's the right nighttime. Yeah. I know. Again, I'm just lost. It's over here, right? Where's Snide's HQ? Jesus Christ, I am so confused. Where's Snide at in this stage? I don't remember. Don't worry, you don't gotta help me with Google. I got this. Trust me. I think it's this one. Pretty sure I've gotten this one though. Because I have the banana. Again, I have all the bananas, which means I have this. So it's not here. Alright, we go back to Jungle Japes. We go back to Jungle Jeeps. We go stage by stage. I'm missing a singular one. Oh, fucking Christ. Is that actually what it is? Is it potentially because I didn't have a Lanky before? 3 hours later. Again, it could be. Again, I'm missing just one. Because there's 2 in Hideout Helm and I have 17 out of 20. It won't take 3 hours to find the one I'm missing, by the way, because like I'm 99% sure it's going to be one of the first 2 stages, just because the later stages I do remember I got 2. Like it's probably going to be in Jungle Japes or Angry Aztec. That's my assumption. Could be in Frantic Factory just because Frantic Factory kind of sucks ass. But my assumption is it's going to be in those. Anyway, I love this music anyway, so we're chill. I love Jungle Japes, like straight up. It's obviously probably my favorite song in this game. Like this is the perfect song for like the first stage in this game, because it's just like this is a Donkey Kong game. I'm gonna look around everywhere. Shouldn't be here because this place. Wait. Oh wait. Cave opposite the minecart, right? I know where that is actually. Wait. I'm in the wrong area. I know exactly where that area is, by the way. It's this way? Yeah, this way. Already did that. Okay. I'm gonna make sure it is this room before I just leave it. I mean, I have to leave it, obviously. But let me just make sure it is this room. It is this room. Alright, cool. So I know where the second one's at then. Oh, yeah, the boss with Tiny Kong, right? Yeah. Alright, where the fuck is this gonna be? Because these guys are no longer color-coded, so I have no idea whose is whose. Not here. Because one of the landmarks they have is Cursed Splat. Oh, it's here. If it's here, that is. Now we're good. Not here. Making sure. Okay. Now we go to Angry Aztec. I will turn into Tiny because it looks like there's a couple tiny landmarks. Honestly, I highly like think that boss was either used as inspiration or inspiration itself for oh, who's the boss? The is it a jackal from Crash Bandicoot 1 or 2? I forget which one. Or dingo, maybe? It might be a dingo. Like that boss, because they're both kind of the same. They're both kind of weird and they like self-kill themselves essentially. Alright, where am I going? Dingo Dio? That might be his name. Alright. Maybe in here? Actually, I could just literally look up what room it is. I'm an idiot. I'm a little dummy. This video is taking its sweet time to load, let me be honest. Oh, I think I have this one. 100% have that one. Number 2. I know I got this one too, actually. This motherfucker's using the tag anywhere mod. What a cheater. Wait, did I never get this one? Shit. Shit. Ripperoo might be. So you are Lil? What do you mean Lil? Oh. Shit. Should I just double check? I'm just gonna double check. I know one of them I for sure got. The other one is like the other one's literally in an area that you have to go through to get a fucking banana. What the fuck? I think Ripperoo is actually the one. I don't think it's Dingodile. I think it's Ripperoo. This one I got. I know I got because it's this way. No. Either way, I know there was one in here and I got it. Fuck, man, this pisses me off. This hunt might actually take me forever. Ow. Like legitimately, this hunt might take me forever. Where the fuck is the Frantic Factory entrance, by the way? Does anybody know this? Does anybody remember where the Frantic Factory entrance is at? I fucking don't. Wait, is Frantic Factory inside here? Like inside the ship? Is this one I'm thinking of? I'm lost. It's not that I'm lost. It's literally that like I just forget where the entrances are at. I went through them. I don't remember where they are. No, this can't be Frantic Factory, can it? No, this can't be it. I'll double check. I don't remember. Oh no, this is Gloomy Galleon. This is the stage after the factory. Wait, I know where it is. I remember. It is in this area, but it is not down. It is up. It is this way. I remember now. This is what's a little confusing about these kind of games where they don't have fast travel of any time. I mean, it does have fast travel, but not to like stages, just to different parts of the world. Should be right. Oh, it is a teleporter to it. Number 4. I didn't realize. Should be here. Wait. Really? You're not strong enough to break those? There's a banana fairy in there, but I know I've got it because there's a curse splat also in there, so like 100% I have it. I have every curse splat. Alright. Now. I don't see it. How do I unlock it? Wait, that's Nide's HQ. That's not what I want. Okay. I need to find a specific teleporter. I just don't know where it is. There's one that I know I got because it's literally in one of these tunnels. The second one only spawns after a certain thing, so my assumption is maybe I didn't get it. I don't know where I'm going, by the way. Is this where I'm going, actually? Nope, it's not. That's the other two people that I need. Hi, Tana. It's not there either. That's just a dead end. I'm looking for a teleporter, but I don't actually know where the fucking teleporter is. It's been so long since I've done this stage. It's not here, huh? Fuck. Where could it be? I'm so lost. I have that one. I know I have that one because it's just normal gameplay. I know I have that one as well, normal gameplay. Maybe there's a chance I don't. But I know I have this one. I got both of the ones in Crystal Caves as well, I'm pretty sure. Got that one. Got that. I literally just did this one. Is it actually an Angry Aztec? Shit. Fuck. It's not here. I got this one. Okay. Let's check Gloomy Gallia next, because it's literally just next door. I'm sorry, guys. You guys are just watching me stare at a fucking screen and assume whether I do or don't have things. This must be riveting content, honestly. Yeah, I think the bad thing about the banana fairies is why this is struggling so much. It's because they're not in like they're not like here. You don't see them here. You just see them here. Very entertaining. Is it actually is this actually entertaining? Like you guys are just fucking with me, aren't you? Alright. I know I have the one in the ship here. The only other place that it could be in here if I didn't get it. It's why I'm here. I like it. Certified screen watcher. You guys stop fucking with me, guys. Come on. If it's in this stage, it's right here. Because Because I know I got the one that's in the ship. Oh shit. It's not here. Because it would be right the fuck here in one of these things. Fuck. Let me double check. I have 17. Genuinely dead ass. Thanks guys. It means a lot. I'm just a little frustrated because I'm looking at this list and I'm like, I have every single one of these. Because like Fungi Forest, I just went into Fungi Forest. I'm here because no censoring. Here because why? Titties? If so, you and me both. Oh wait, there's literal teleporter for here. I'm here because I really like your voice. Liar. I'm gonna check this. It shouldn't be in here because there's a curse splat in here. Yeah, I was like, it shouldn't be here because of the curse splat. I know that I got this. And I was just gonna check that. Now I'm gonna go here because the color purple's good. Oh, okay. What about red? How do you feel about red? I fucking love Chunky's like fall scream. Just ah! Alright, now how to get to Fungi Forest? I forget. Oh shit. The color of royalty, get loved on. Shut up. This one over here is Crystal Caves, right? No, not Crystal Caves. It's Gloomy Galleon. No, it's not Gloomy Galleon. This might be Fungi Forest, actually. Red is for salsa? It is. Yeah, I got this one. Shit. We're going in order. Rid of the color of power, but also danger. Yes, danger ahead. Massive titties ahead for the stream. Also, I don't even know if I look good right now because I have my OBS covered by this motherfucking. As I consider to as friends. Okay. Listen, this is not me. Also, if you know me, this is not me fishing for compliments. I legitimately don't understand why people watch me. Where's it trying to go? Angry Aztec, I guess. Wait. Got him your demographic, I get it. I don't know. I've started noticing that more and more people are unfollowing me that I used to be cool with, and I'm just wondering what I did to upset these people. People can do whatever they want, right? But like, it's just confusing to me. Like, what did I do to piss you guys off? Oh, people are sneaky, but you are sneaky. Yeah, there you go. That's one way to put it. I'm gonna check this place out just to make absolutely sure. Oh, that's the llama temple. Okay. How do I get in? We'll check in here. Because this is where one of them is. If I missed. Which I'm like 99% sure I didn't. Not using my tactical work with this amount. She's lovely voice. Listen, if you want to hear my voice, you just gotta ask. What the fuck? How did I not get this? It's in front of a fucking... like where I get a banana from. I'm a little tilted. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a tiny bit tilted. It's not looking up, I'm not gonna lie. Like, you hear the giggle, and you have to go in here for a banana in this stage. So like, it's not a matter of not looking up. I just fucking missed it, I guess. How does it spawn? Hang on. I guess I just... did I... trying to think, did I miss it? Did I not have the banana camera? Is that what's going on? Am I allowed to hear you tell me good night? Like, can I get there? No, I mean... Good night, Pecunia. You can clip that if you want. Only 2 more? Yeah, the last 2 are in Hideout Helm. They're in the final stage, so like, I'm good. I'm at 100% right now. I literally looked it up. There's 2 in Hideout Helm. I'm good. I'm done. That works. Yeah, go ahead. Clip it, record it, whatever. Don't clip it. Like, record it. I don't look up because we're so pretty. We're not the same. Hang on. There you go. A little more for you, in case you were looking. Alright, let's save the game. Okay. So we're done for now. I will finish this game, sorry, tomorrow. Get this shit off my screen. Piss me off. So, let me go back over here. Let me get my music back on. You guys might hear Iron Mouse again. Alrighty. Back to work? Yes, back to work. Back to twerk, please. Twerk very hard for me, Leona. I will send you a DM later. Alright, we're all done for tonight. Bye. I will be back tomorrow with... What the hell do I have planned? Pokopia. Pokopia. Bye. I need to do my dailies today for Pokopia speaking. I should have done that on stream, actually. Should I do that on stream? I can still hang out another 20-30 minutes. You guys want a little bit of bonus time? It's not that I don't want to, it's that I'm asking you guys, will you stick around for another 20-30 minutes while I do Pokopia dailies? Sure, okay. Sure is good enough for me. he said that made me shiver. Shut up. Fine, we go back over here. We shut off Gerudo Valley. We do this. Oh wait, hang on. Give me a second. I might need to read. I've been time traveling because on days that I don't work or that I work, I might not be able to play the game on time, so I'm missing my dailies. Like my dailies on that day. So I actually reset it. Okay, very good. So you guys might see things a little different. And by things, I mean a little bit of things. Oh yeah, this is my house in the Skylands, by the way. I forgot what I was doing here, but all I really want to do is check my dailies. I've made a couple houses, by the way. I haven't put anybody in them. What's up with Fairy Giraffe? What's up? But there's some spots in this you're gonna watch me actively avoid because I don't want to show you guys the Pokemon that are here. Today's stamp, I don't want that. I have 2 Charmander stamps already. I have shitty stamps this week, by the way. Look at them. It's all basic stamps. Gather garbage, hype it up, that's easy. And it's really just these that I want. These recipes are daily, and you get new recipes every day. And then I need to go into the Dreamland. Which is here. I still love this game. Like I haven't played it nearly as much just because I finished the story, so there's not a whole lot to like build up to. But I've gotten a lot of like habitat info, so tomorrow, like legitimately, we're just going to like run around and like just build habitats for like new Pokemon to show up in. I made a new one that I'll show you guys tomorrow. It's really funny. It's the average Twitch viewers habitat. Alright, so first of all, check the Pokedex. Let me see if somebody exists. My house, potentially. Nobody's in here, but I will still check the actual cave. You made me a house? I mean, you want to be my champ, right? I haven't put you in a house yet. Nor I haven't put Heracross in a house yet either. Don't know. If you want to be them, you don't have a house yet. These things should be set, right? Yeah, it's just the same stuff. I don't really need to grab any of it. But I need to climb up because there's habitat info in these areas. Make them roommates? I technically could if I really wanted to. Any yellow? Because yellow's the habitat info. Ooh, a lantern. No yellow around. There might be yellow inside the cave. There usually is. Yep, there's one. It might not be habitat, it might be something else. It is. Oh, I have both of these. Wait, I have Electivire? Where the fuck did I catch it? Did I bring Electivire in from? Where is he? Hang on. Where the hell? Is that a spoiler for a habitat that I put down? It's not. Oh, he's in the beach. I remember now. No, that's Electabuzz, not Electivire. What's down here? A whole lot of another. Wait. Oh, a full-on. Oh my god! Apparently a full-on star piece. Okay. Also, I love this face. What else is in around here? Like, this is what tells me Suicune should be in here, but he's not. Goofy, yeah. Wait, do I have another? I think I got another mysterious slate that I gotta put down, don't I? I don't. I guess I already put it down. How do you know which one's regular, which one's rare Pokemetal, by the way? I actually don't know. I thought it was because of like the marbling on the rock. I think that's not true at all. I don't think there's a way to know until you actually mine it. Anyway, there's nothing else here. Let's get out of here. There's a second entrance to the cave, though. I need to go find it. I like how Magnet Rise is like an endgame ability. Could have just given you that at any time, honestly. Is there not a second entrance? There might not be a second entrance today. Huh. I guess the random generation just gave me one cave this time. That's unfortunate, but that's okay though. That's unfortunate, but c'est la vie. Let's get, I just realized there's no farm here either. Oh, there's that thing though. I want to break this. Oh yeah, speaking of large relics, last week, after I finished playing on Friday, actually I didn't even play last week, did I? No, I was tired. Professor Tangrove walked up to me and was like, hey, I'd like to have my own house. Can you grab everything that I've ever appraised you, essentially, and make a habitat for me? I'm like, okay. So his habitat is gonna be like a hoarder's wet dream, basically, because it's just gonna be a fucking nightmare. Hype it up requires me to go to the Rocky Ridges, I think, is the place to do that the best, because there's a lot of hype Pokemon in there. Bye. What do I need? What do we got? Oh, gather garbage. Oh, God, what's the best place to grab garbage from? Is it just using a water type here, I think, actually? Cleaning up. Ninja, I need your help, buddy. I love this soundtrack in this game. Over here, Greninja, I need your help. Oh, nope, it's still stone. Alright, bye-bye. We're gonna teleport over to the beach then. Let's go to the Rocky Ridges first, actually. Hope you guys are having a good night, though. Thank you guys for hanging out for a little bit longer. I need to get hyping it up. I need to get some garbage. Where's the best place for garbage? It could be actually Pallet Town, thinking about it. Thanks for streaming for us, of course. Having a great night listening to your pretty voice. Listen, just thank you guys for always being here. Like I've said, I've noticed people have stopped hanging around. I've started losing followers that used to support me. But you know, I'm just thankful that the people that are here now have always been here. And you guys say you'll always be here, and I hope that's true. Where the hell do I have this random alpine grass from? I've stuck around 2 years already? Yeah, I mean, most of the people that I've noticed leaving have been around for 2 years. That's what kind of upsets me a little bit. It's just the no idea why things happen. What's up? What do you want, Volcarona? Oh, my bricks. Oh shit, I forgot I wanted them. Thank you. Alright, I need Jigglypuff to hype things up. Get over here. Oh. Yo, what's up? Oh, he's also making bricks. You know what's funny? I never gave these guys clay to make bricks. They literally took it from right here, my community box. Wait, I need a fire type. Roly Coly, please follow me. I need you to do this here, please. Thank you. I will do it for you. How goes the island work? I mean, I'm just playing a little bit before I finished streaming because I finished up what I wanted to do in Donkey Kong 64 for now. I'm not done with the game, but I'm gonna do the finale next week. So now I'm just kind of like running around doing little things around the area before I finish up for the night. Just grabbing some golden stuff. And apparently I need to find garbage. I don't know where to find garbage. My areas are too clean. Anyway, Ruby, how are you doing? How goes your morning? Because I know you're in Europe. put these blocks away? They're kind of bothering me. They're just annoying. Burn down on champions for the night. I can see that. I still haven't looked at it. I've heard it's a little buggy, but I mean, it's a Pokemon game. You kind of expect bugs at the start. And it's also really funny how like people are like, how is everybody at Pokemon Champions so good? And a lot of responses are correct in saying because the hardest barrier to entry is fucking gone. Because the biggest barrier to entry to competitive Pokemon before, it wasn't knowledge, it was legitimately it was training. EV training, IV breeding, all that stuff, like that was the hardest part. It's by hardest I just mean time consuming, obviously. Clefairy, I need you to wake up and follow me, please. Please hype it up for me. Also, yes, I found Clefairy. Hype it up for me. But yeah, like, it makes sense that, like, the biggest barrier to entry for Pokemon Champions, or Pokemon Competitive, is gone, which is, you know, IVs. Oh, what are you doing? Oh, speaking of, you gave me another. That's why I didn't do much breeding over and over again. Yeah, that's why I never really got into competitive, because, like, it was never really fun to me to, just waste your time, you know, breeding Pokemon. Or specifically IV breeding. Like, I'm okay with, like, shiny breeding. Ren, I love breeding. Shut up. Shut up. Don't put that out into the world. Don't make people think I'm a freak. Like, EV training is fine. It's just a matter of buying a metric fuck ton of drugs in Pokemon, Trick Twitch, in Pokemon, or just finding, oh, which Pokemon gives me the most EVs, and just fighting that thing a billion fucking times until you get the EVs you want. So my Pokemon originally trained them in the past. Sometimes I said, yeah, exactly. Like, I'm pretty sure I have 0, like, actually good Pokemon out of the ones I have EV trained. Like, I've done a little bit of EV training, and by that I mean I did super training in Gen 6. Which, that's the closest thing to, like, full-on EV training I'd ever done. There's a lot of gold around here, Jesus Christ. What the fuck? Oh, another slate. Nice. What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? Just found like a hidden area. What the fuck? Oh! I know where this is. Lumber. I need lumber, actually. I need these bookcases, too. Good thing I noticed where they are. Yeah, I know where I am. I know exactly where I am. I'm above where the thing is at. Excuse me? Oh. What the fuck? That's a rope? I have a lot of that. Oh, that's how you climb it. Okay. Yeah, I've been here. We need to go up though. There's another golden item up here. Oh yeah, I need to make another habitat. I just realized I have a tree in my inventory that I'm saving for a habitat. And I think it's Decidui that I'm trying to get, surprisingly. Jesus Christ. The funny thing is, I keep getting this Despot fossil, and I've been missing the Despot fossil for who knows how fucking long. Hold on, what habitat am I missing? I forgot what it's called. Is it this one? Yeah, pointed tree shaded tall grass. Let's put the tree down. And we can put some grass down. Apparently not. There we go. And that should eventually give me Decidui. I have so much bullshit in my inventory. Jesus Christ. I'll keep that grass there. I don't need it. Also, I'm pretty sure there's a lava fishing spot that I can make. Wait. No. I want a hot spring fishing spot because my inventory is full. It is. My inventory is just full with rocks. It's like the most unfortunate thing ever. Like, look at all this shit. It's just rocks. There's some like roofing too, but that's because I was making people's houses. Like, I would show you Pallet Town, but I want to save one of the Pokemon that are probably going to be in there to show you guys tomorrow. Just because it'll be nice to also be surprised myself. Huh? There's no space for the Despot fossil anymore. Oh shit. What can I put in here? This. This too, I think. Wait, what? This isn't permanent soil? Oh, it's just seashell soil. This stone pillar up, this stone pillar middle, stone flooring. I have so much bullshit. I need to make a second one of these. And this was just gonna have like random roofing materials in it. Just make it easier to remember. Windows in that. Walls. Not the transmitters, actually I want to keep those. I'll keep these like random. And this random fossil, actually. Get rid of this thing. Cool. Okay. Hype it up. Getting fucking garbage is annoying because I don't actually know where to get it. What song are you playing? Where is he? The best gym battle theme in a long time. Anyway, let's go to the beach. I realized there's fast travel in this game, by the way. It took me like how long of playing this game to realize there's fast travel in this game. Welcome back from the ads, by the way. I'm going to the beach to look for garbage, and I'm probably not going to find garbage. Let me be entirely clear. My home is very basic here. I should fix up the beach. I haven't done a whole lot of work on the beach thinking about it. Yo, what's up? Oh yeah, that's right. I gave him garbage to give me iron ore. Yeah. let's give you more iron ore. Where's my garbage? There's a lot of materials that need iron ore and iron ingots lately, so I need to just start grabbing things. I have not spent a lot of time here. I need to look around. Oh shit, new Pokemon. Oh shit, I forgot. There's fishing spots for every different type of water, by the way. So I just made one here. Ugh. Ew. Oh no. Wow, a human. Yay. I'm gonna follow it. I'm not a human. What? You're just a Pokemon. Oh, that's too bad. If you were human, I figured you'd be carrying a ton of tasty trash. Huh? You're searching for humans too? Oh, neat. Well, well, if I could do anything to help, let me know. Yeah. The other ones has to be muck then. Alright, you wanna know what I'm gonna do? I am immediately going to get this guy out of his home so that spot gets opened up for the next, to the next, Pokemon in that habitat. I realize I can do that and it's actually pretty nice. What do you want? I'll give you bitter flavors once I give you your new home. For space in this home? I don't want to put you with Pikachu. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Pikachu. I don't know why I thought I would put him in that home. I'm gonna put you over here in the corner where you don't stink up the place. I'm sorry. Oh, this is Dracloak's home. Dracloak, you're gonna have a roommate. I'm sorry, buddy. You're sleeping. Sorry, buddy. You're getting a roommate. Give Trubbish a friend? He doesn't have a house. I have to make another house. There you go. Take. You want to move it? You can move in here. But I could give him bitter, which is a Rost berry. I think it was bitter anyway. Yeah. There you go. That's not what I wanted. That's fine. You can. Nah, fuck that. I don't like having holes in the ground. Alright, so there's that. Now that home is fixed up for the next disgusting Pokemon that's gonna show up. It's gotta be, you know, Mr. Come Backwards. Another slate? Ooh, I'm gonna go put these down. Like, this place is too clean. It kind of sucks. I can't find garbage anywhere. Let me look at him showering. Actually, wait. Let me just teleport. Because there's another habitat I want to save in case, because I want to be surprised by which Pokemon spawns in the habitat that I put down. Also, I accidentally made a Pikachu fan habitat, and guess who showed up? It was Mimikyu. Look, it's Mimikyu. I gave him my home. Because Mimikyu's cool. Did I feed Mimikyu? I think I did. Look at him. It's really high. That's a really high res image too. You can clearly see how it was just like scribbled on with crayon. Anyway, let's go put down these mysterious slates. There's another habitat I have over there in the corner, which is where the beach entrance is at, that I'm trying to avoid. So we're not going over there. Wait, sparkling habitat. Or sparkling thing. Oh, fucking Blastoise sleeping belly down. He's max cozy there. Ooh, oh my god, wait, I need that bathtub. I got a new habitat info yesterday. That is, it's just a bathtub and a shower. Like a shower head. And I don't know who's gonna, I don't know who that's gonna be. By the way, I'm almost done. I only need 5 more. And I have, was it 2 of them? I do. Alright, where's this go? Without looking at it, where does it go? I think it's gonna be this one? No, yeah, no. It'll probably be there. It's probably E or whatever. Oh, I was right actually. I was right. It was this one. Oh shit. My initial guess was correct. And then this one has big letters, which has to be this one here. It's not N. What the fuck? It's the other part of it. Oh, it's Mew. I was wondering what this was. Like before this part here, that new one, I had no idea what this was. This is Mew. So when we finish this, we're probably going to be able to get Mew. It's not Mewtwo because we already found Mewtwo. That's actually really cool. Okay. 2 letters and the exclamation point and question mark. Which, by the way, the only places that those spawn on are the breakable blocks. So I can only get those a certain amount of times a day. Oh, also, something I noticed that I literally just noticed. Someone pointed it out on Twitter, and I didn't notice it until I checked over here before. Look at this Chansey face. Very normal, right? I never noticed, but look at this Chansey face. It is not very normal. I think it's very silly. Like, apparently every time you put this down, or the first time you put this down, or I forget what it is. Is the free one? No, this isn't the free one. I think this one over here is the free one. Is it? Oh, is it specifically the free one that's a fake? Is that like hard confirmed? Because if it is, then obviously if it is confirmed that the free one's the fake, it has to be this one then. But if it's not, it's just people assuming, then it might not be. When a whole free event, one was the original version. Oh, like from the, like there's a quest or something that gives you one, right? No. I don't think that's true at all. I'll be honest, I don't think so. Alright, one last look around, see if there's any more things I can pop. I think it's just every time you put it down, it has a chance to be a Ditto. And I just happen to get lucky and not actually notice that it's a Ditto. Wait, I haven't built this? What the fuck am I doing here? What am I missing? Oh, I just need Pokemon. I need a bird? I need a fucking bird? Okay. Where my boy Pidgey at? Because I can use Pidgeotto and I know where Pidgeotto is. Yeah, here's the thing that I made that made Mimikyu appear. It's just Pikachu couch with Pikachu doll. But I immediately made Mimikyu move in with me because I'm like, I want Mimikyu as a roommate. Pidgeotto, please show up. I forget where you were. Smells great. Okay, follow me. It's so precious. It is. It's pretty cute. There's also one that's a tree with Snorlax, like the Snorlax bed that I got. And I'm assuming, like very much assuming, that that is just gonna give me a normal Snorlax. I need a chop Pokemon. Who the hell do I have that chops? Scyther. Is it just Scyther that chops in this area? Do I have to move another chop Pokemon in here? I need 6 of them, and I can only have 5 follow me, so it don't matter if it's 4 or 5. And I guess I'll build this house. I'll take both of these guys with me. I don't know what I'm building, by the way. I do not know what I'm building here. Oh, it's a leaf cottage. Be done tomorrow. Oh, perfect. You guys will see the result of this tomorrow. Gotta break these down. What's up? Oh yeah, that's right. I have this motherfucker making me lumber. Thank you for the lumber, because I was running actually low. Hi Blastoise, bye Blastoise. You know what I realized? I have all 3 starters and their final evolutions in this town. Wait, I realized I don't have Charmeleon, Wartortle, or Ivysaur, do I? Oh shit. I realized I don't have either of them. That's unfortunate. Anyway, finding garbage is not gonna work because this is a clean ass area. The Metal Evils are in it. I'm assuming every like stage is in it. Like we have Girder, Timber, and Conkeldurr, so like why would they not have all 3 starters? Like they had Froakie, they had Frogadier, and Greninja. I haven't found Fennekin yet, or Chespin, which is kind of interesting. I'm assuming they're probably in here, hopefully. Like, there's Snivy. I'm assuming they're Superior. Hopefully, they're Servine. Haven't found Tepig. I have not found Oshawott. I'm assuming the starters are in here. You know what? You know what? I will spoil myself a little just to see what Pokedexes are here. Lots to do. Oh yeah, it's a big Pokedex. I will spoil myself specifically for that, just for you guys. I want to see what there is. Let's see. Maybe some of them would be event only, is my assumption potentially as well. Let's see what we got though. All the starters are here, like the first 3, they're in there. What about the other starters? I'm trying to avoid Pokemon that aren't in here, or that I don't have, but I'm just looking for starters. What about the other starters? Yep, there's Torchic, Combuskin, and Blaziken. I think I have all 3 of them. I might not have Combuskin though. I do know there's Piplup, Prinplup, and Empoleon. Empoleon I don't think I have yet, but I have the other 2. Who else? Who else? Who else? Who else? Tatsugiri's in here apparently. That's good. I'll have to look for him. Rowlet. Yeah, I know. I guess I should have said I know Rowlet, Dartrix, and Decidueye are in because I'm trying to go for them. Scorbunny and Cinderace I have. Reboot I haven't put their habitat down yet. Who else? Is that all the starters there are? Yeah, it can't be, right? Yeah, Cyndaquil, Quilava, Typhlosion are here. Yeah, Snivy in the whole line. Froakie in the whole line. So not every starter is in here, but the ones that are is the full line. Sprigatito and the full line. Eevee in the full line. Yeah. There's 300 Pokemon, which is kind of crazy. Out of 1,025, there's 300 in this game. That's kind of nuts to me. Hydration, what's up? Oh shit, he gave me a new emote. I'm getting more emotes. It's kind of crazy. Like, I don't even have all the emotes, and that's kind of nuts. I've been playing this game a long time already. Is that it for now? Yeah, I think that's it for now. Like, if I want to get the starters, I could literally probably just look up their habitats. Some of them I probably have, like, already in there, but I just need to move the Pokemon, like, that are already in it, out of it, so they can spawn. Anyway, let's just finish up for now. We'll call that my dailies. I couldn't get the other one done, but that's because my places are too clean, and I didn't go to a Dream Island with the fuck am I trying to call it? With garbage. Jesus Christ! Why did it take me so long to figure out the word garbage? It's not like I'm walking human garbage. Sorry, that was going too far even for me. All right, now we're actually done tonight. We did a little bit of Pokopia. Tomorrow we'll keep going. I'll show you guys actually everything that I've done this past week. I'll show you guys Pokemon that I got, and probably look and find new ones. I have a lot of habitats that I just haven't checked to see if somebody spawned. I'm 99% sure there's probably at least, I think, 2, maybe 3 Pokemon that I just don't have spawned, or like I haven't checked their habitats yet to see if they've spawned. One of them is Aurorus, which is one of my top 5 favorite Pokemon, because I went to that island that has like a shopping mall's worth of every fucking item in the game, and you just take pictures and 3D print whatever you want. And I 3D printed the Aurorus fossils because I love Aurorus so much, and I wanted to make sure it's in my game. Yeah. If you guys don't like that, I don't know, suck it. Like, actually suck it. Anyway, I will be back tomorrow with Pokopia. I'm actually gonna stop this time. I'm actually finishing. I'm sorry for baiting you guys last time. You get it if you want. I will do whatever the fuck I damn well please. Otherwise, this game will take forever. Because, God damn it, I just realized what I said. Shut the hell up. No horny allowed. That's tomorrow. Freaky Friday's tomorrow. That's when the horny gets to be allowed. I mean, it's always allowed. We're adults. I just mean Freaky Friday's when, like, I mean, that's when the freaks come out. Anyway, I'm gonna get off before I say something that I regret. I will catch you guys tomorrow. Have a good night. Thank you guys for being here, and good night, guys. Bye. Have a good night. Bye, 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 bye. See you guys tomorrow. Remember, same time, Pokopia. Bye.
Bye.